Welcome. We are so glad you joined us today. All through the month of November, the Family Advocacy Network, through the National Perinatal Association, and the Preemie Parent Alliance will be bringing you a worldwide webinar series to bring the voice of NICU parents from across the globe to light. We will hear from NICU parents in Brazil, Ireland, Canada, Australia, the Gambia, and the United States, so we can begin to understand what the NICU parent experience is like in different parts of the world. Throughout these conversations, we will learn about the factors that influence a parent's experience in the NICU, what unique challenges NICU parents face in different regions as they navigate what is often a very difficult, traumatic life experience. As we do this, we will begin to understand not only what is different, but also what is universal in neonatal intensive care. What do all families need to not only survive the NICU, but thrive throughout life? Today's interview will focus on Gambia, a country in West Africa that is about the size of the state of Connecticut in the United States, with a population of just over 2 million people. 13% is the prematurity rate for the Gambia. About 29% of those deaths are a result of preterm birth complications. 29% are a result of childbirth or delivery events. 29% related to sepsis, meningitis, or tetanus. 9% are congenital abnormalities, 6% pneumonia, and about 6% that are just other conditions. We are so happy today to be joined by my co-host, Cheryl Milford from the National Perinatal Association, and of course our special guest today, Habi. Habi, we are so glad to have you with us. Thank you for being here and participating in this important conversation. Habi is with Little Survivor and is also the parent of a son who was born preterm. So thanks for joining us today, Habi.
Thank you, Ali. I am pleased to be part of this.
We're so happy to have you. Can you start today by just telling us a little bit about why you had to deliver early?
Thank you so much. And I am so much grateful to be part of this event. I've always dreamed of sharing my experience with the world. And I'm so fortunate that today I'm able to achieve that dream. And my experience was a bit hectic because the fact that I was pregnant in a strange country that I don't know people. What I mean in that is I traveled to Ghana where there are no relatives that I could call, very close relative. My mom, my sisters, cousins, none of them were there. All the people I met in Ghana were strangers. And I was pregnant. I gave birth too early. The reason being that I didn't have much complication during pregnancy, but I was surprised that I was able to give birth very early because I just feel some little pain with my stomach and my back. So the pain continues. That was a Friday. It continues to the Saturday. So I was like, this is getting worse every day, despite the fact that I'm taking pills and I've not got any signs of delivery. So why is this pain continuously like this? So I just decided to go to the hospital and have some medications that I can drink that could help me reduce the pain, because I knew I was just 31 weeks going to 32 weeks of pregnancy. So when I get to the hospital that Saturday night, fortunately for me, I arrived at the hospital and my water was already broke. And when I realized it, I just called the nurse and I was like, my water is broke. She was surprised herself that she was like, no, but just lie down, let me check you. So when I just lie down, I think within 10 to 15 minutes, I gave birth. That was my first, because I was pregnant for twins. That was my first twin that came out. And then they were struggling to get the second twin, which took them about 6 hours because I was taken to the theater for them to help me and pull the baby out. I was injected though, I didn't realize it. I went to anesthesia, so I couldn't realize what the process was. But when I woke up after 6 hours, I was told that we were able to pull out your second twin. So then I was told that the first child, they are both premature and they are both on oxygen at the NICU. So it was so sad. And then, but I believed in God that whatever God puts into you, it's something that you can hold. So I just looked up and I said, okay, I will make it. We'll be able to fight through this. From there, when I got a little bit better, I was no more dizzy. They took me to the NICU to see my babies. So when I went, I saw one of them was in the incubator and the other was very, very sick, I could say. He wasn't that strong, but the first twin was a bit. So I was told to express my breast and feed the first twin. He is actually the one that survived, and the second twin could not breastfeed. So I just looked over them whilst they were in the NICU. Then after 5 days, the second twin couldn't make it. He passed out. So I was left with one, that's the first twin. We struggled throughout, and it was hard because we spent 2 months in NICU. 1 complete month was spent in an intensive care unit. The most, like, we had 3 different rooms for the NICUs. One is the most intensive one. Then the second is when the baby is getting a little bit better and can stay off from oxygen for a while. Then the third one is when the baby is a little bit fit, like the weight has grown a bit, and they believe that in few days time they can really discharge that child. So we spent 1 month in the first one, that is the intensive care unit. And during those moments when the doctors visit, that is when they suspected that he has a congenital heart condition, and they knew it wouldn't be treated in Ghana or less abroad. So this was another additional thing that, you know, pains me very well, because not only him being a premature, but we are now fighting 2 different things: him being a premature baby and an additional thing of him being a congenital heart um, condition, congenital heart, how to call it, congenital heart defect patient as well. So it was so hard for me, but I just took up the momentum and said, we'll be able to, I'll help him and we'll be able to go to it, and we'll end up winning the, will not be defeated, we'll end up winning. And I believe that we end up achieving it. It was so tough, so hard. Then later, few weeks, I think after 2 weeks again, the doctors detected again that he has other abnormality, which was bilateral descended testes and penoscrotal hypospadias. So all these needed surgical treatments or repairs, and I was advised that unless I do the heart surgery for him, he wouldn't be able to go to the other two surgeries he should undergo. So my focus at that moment was how to get him healed up, his heart healed. We went there, we were there admitted in the hospital for 2 months. Then after the 2 months, we were discharged. We went back home. I was still coming for follow-ups at the hospital. Every week, I'll bring him. They will check his weight and check his health condition as well, because he was also suffering from a heart disease. It wasn't easy, and he was not gaining weight. I could remember he spent 5 months weighing 2 kilos for the entire 5 months. And I did everything I was advised to do so that he will be able to gain weight again. But it seems unfortunate. But I was told again that his heart problems might be a contributing factor of him not gaining weight as required. And for 1 year, 10 months, he was weighing 5 kilos continuously, because before he can even have one, it's like when he's 2 kilos, it will take 3 months before he'll be 3 kilos. Then from there, it will take another 2-3 months before he can be. So it was very slow. And after 1 year, 10 months, with prayers and efforts, I was able to take him to the United States, and he did his heart surgery in Boston Children's Hospital. It was partially sponsored by Glow International, that is Gift of Life International. They helped me whilst I paid for my airlift and my child's airlift to the United States. And they take care of all required health that is needed for the surgery. Medications, being the medications, consultations, and the surgery cost and everything. I was hosted by 2 American citizens as well. They are Rotarians in New England. So after that process, I came back to Ghana with my son so that I'll be able to continue with the required treatment that was left. That is the other 2 surgeries that was required of him. So when we arrived, we went in September, came back in October. Then December, he did one of his surgeries. That is the bilateral descended testes. Then from there, in May 2016, he did the penoscrotal hypospadias, but unfortunately, the surgery wasn't a successful one, and we couldn't achieve the aim of it. So there was still the hole was still where it was, and the doctor advised me to wait after 1 year to redo the surgery again, the repairs. We did the same thing. We followed after 1 year, that is in 2016. In 2017, January, I took him for the repairs again, but when he went, unfortunately, the same thing happened, repeat itself again. As I'm talking now, we're still battling to achieve that part of his health. But I'm happy that he's very healthy. He's like any other child could be. The only problem that he has is the penoscrotal being repaired, which I believe I will fight with him and continue with him to achieve that as well. We were able to win it over. And the other thing I always love to share with people is that after he did the surgery in October, we came back home. We came back to Ghana. Then between October to March, my son was able to sit down, walk, crawl, walk, and talk just within the duration of 6 months. So it's just like a miracle for me that I was able to fight for that, because for 1 year, 10 months, my child would only lie down. He couldn't do anything. Even if you help him to sit down, it's a problem. He couldn't have the strength to sit. But I was like, within 6 months, I'm able to achieve all this. And my son have actually um, been able to do what his colleagues are able to do within a duration of 6 months. So my fight worth fighting for, and I'm happy that I was able to achieve that and give him the life that he deserves. And him being the person that he is today, I'm so grateful to God and happy. Thank you.
Habi, that is just, your journey is just an amazing story of resilience and being a great mama, and you are a great mama. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like in the NICU in Ghana when you were in the intensive unit?
Yeah. When I left the theater and came to my son, we have about more than 50 NICU babies, premature babies in that room. And instead of one child using an incubator, you have about three, or depending on their size, 2 or 3 in one incubator. That was because there was not enough incubators for those children to be placed in, and they needed it. So they just have to squeeze and improvise to make sure we have that. And the other thing is, we usually come and see our babies in every 2 to 3 hours. We'll come, express our breast, then the milk will feed the children. Some of them will use a pipe to feed them, or others you will just feed them without the pipe, those that are able to. I remember for the 3 weeks, first 3 weeks, I always use the pipe to feed my child before he was able to be fed through the mouth. Then gradually from there, he started breastfeeding after 1 year, after 1 month, sorry. He started breastfeeding, suckling, and managing with the breeds and everything. So and apart from that again, when he was transferred to the other room, I was able to sleep beside him, but unfortunately we have to put it on the ground, on the floor, and you lie down on the floor whilst you check in on your child. So every 2 3 hours, if you hear any movements, you just wake up and feed if you have to feed, or change the diapers, or take care of him or her, or whatever reactions you see, you can call the nurse to come and be with you or with your child to help you, assist you in whatever what is wrong with your child. It was a very crazy but very memorable moment that you can't get outside of that NICU. You know, you always look at your child being very tiny in that incubator, playing with those little fingers and the feet. It's it's something that whenever I remember, I smile, because it's an experience that I did not get with my other older kids, and it was so fun being with him, always beside me. The part I enjoyed most is the kangaroo mother care, when I tie him up in front of my chest and be looking at him always. I will know whatever is wrong with him. If he vomits, or he's breathing very fast, or his temperature is high, you know, I was able to regulate all that. And happy enough for me, even when I went back home discharged, I still continued with that KMC throughout for about 6 months. Yeah, then that is when I stopped doing the KMC. By then, I believe that he was fit, a little bit fit enough to stay without it, but yet still, I enjoyed having him being in front of my chest and tied up during the kangaroo mother care. Yeah, and the other experience would be, there were doctors, very good doctors and nurses, that were there to look to all the children and know what's wrong with them, what they need, and give them medications as expected. So I think the problem they had there was the enough incubators and for those children, because I know every premature baby that needs it deserves to have an incubator beside to help him or her go through that life-threatening or very complicated um, journey for them. And I believe the other problem that we have in Africa here when it comes to NICO is these premature babies at the hospitals is access to these medical equipments as well, because what they normally use mostly is the normal medical equipments that they use for everybody. They don't have a specific um, equipment that they will be able to use for your child. So at the end of the day, some of the kids are being affected in that way. So the experience was great and I loved it, and it was really an enjoyable moment, though very hectic at that time, but whenever you remember it, it's something that gives you joy.
That's wonderful. And I understand the concern with regards to medical equipment, and that is an ongoing concern at many levels all over the world, is that we just don't have enough equipment. And that's something I think as the world of prematurity, in terms of PPA and NPA, we need to address, is making sure, you're right, babies need their own incubator.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. That's right. It's something that affects the whole world, obviously, because you cannot satisfy everybody when it comes to those. But gradually, we will get to that place, God willing.
Habi, can you tell us a little bit about the Little Survivors organization and some of the services that they provide?
Okay, Little Survivors, it's an organization I formed in the Gambia because when I was in Ghana, I was working with an organization called Little Big Souls, which was basically to help premature babies. So during my stay there, working with them, I had a lot of experience and believed that when I come back home, I would bring it back home. So when I came, that's the first thing that came to my mind. When I came back to the Gambia finally to settle, I was like, how do I name the organization first? I called it Little Survivors because of my son. And I believe that in Africa mostly, people tend to think if you have a preemie baby, it's a devil, or the child is a witch, or the like. That's the belief they have within themselves. So they'll be like, you've give birth to a witch. So these are all things that push me into having it back home here, to put it into people that they are little, but they can survive. The strength, don't ever neglect or belittle the strength that they have. They are very little, but they have big souls inside of them. So little survivors in the Gambia, we visit hospitals that has preemie NICOs. So when we visit them, we ask the parents what actually they need the most, and talk to the nurses and the doctors and see what those kids are, the mothers and the preemies are going to during their NICO in the hospital. So the other thing we do is we do train some nurses. Those are part of our plans, to train some nurses, NICO nurses, to be able to teach the mothers on how to take care of their preemie babies, because we believe the way you treat a normal infant is far more different from the way you take care of a preemie baby. Getting into the experience that I have with both levels, because I know a preemie need much more attention than the normal infant or the normal baby. So that's one of the things that we want to do: train the nurses, let them be well equipped with the information that they will give back to the parents, and train them on how to take care of those preemies, especially how to feed them, how to dress them up, how to shower them. All these are steps that we want the mothers to know themselves. In case they go back home, they'll be able to take care of that child alone. And the other thing we normally do is we have these preemie diapers, which are not available in the Gambia. We do have preemie clothes that are not available as well in the Gambia. And also we have this wipes and everything. We just package everything, care packages, and give it to mothers as donations to them. That's what we do normally. So I do ask for funds back home here, and whatever I have myself, join it together, and we'll buy these things and give it to the mothers. So we do also organize fundraising activities. Whatever we raise, we just give it back to the mothers that needs it, and the preemie babies as well.
That's great. I guess our final question for today is, what is the most important thing that you would want other parents to know?
Okay, one of the most important thing is, let's have at the back of our mind that your child is your child, despite he or she is a preemie or a normal baby that is delivered after 9 months. Being the fact that your child being a preemie doesn't mean God has punished you or God has bring a problem upon you, but it's a challenge that you need to take and fight for that child. You don't know what he or she can be later in the future. So what I would advise is, do all you can and help that preemie leave that NICU and be that strong person that you want your own 9 months child would be. And the other thing is, let's be mindful, especially the community that we live in Africa here, that we stop the discrimination or stigmatize when a mother is give birth to a preemie. The way we treat it might, with all the problem that that mother is going through, in addition of the discrimination and stigmatization, can frustrate that mom more, and can bring that lack of attention to the child, or minimize the attention that the mother could want to share to that child because of the frustration that you go through. Let's always encourage them and give them support that they need, so that that child will be able to achieve what he or she will be in life.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us today, Habi. It's very inspirational and motivating to hear all the work that you're doing. As a reminder, these interviews are all part of Prematurity Awareness Network. Both the Preemie Parent Alliance and the National Perinatal Association's Family Advocacy Network are both committed to enhancing and drawing awareness to family-centered and family-integrated care. We are all dedicated to working collaboratively, hand in hand, with NICU parents and professionals to ensure that we are creating the best possible environments for our NICU families to grow and thrive. And as our gift to you throughout the month of November, each interview recording will be available to access free of charge. Of course, for our PPA and NPA members, lifetime access to our entire webinar library is a benefit of your membership. If you aren't a member of either organization or would like to support either organization, we encourage you to visit our websites and learn more about the work that we do and how you can get involved. Thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you have a great day.